Cricket used to sleep at night. That is, until her habit was changed by Coyote's minimal need for sleep and his ornery humor. It wasn't that Coyote didn't need rest, for he was always exhausted at the end of the day. It was that he didn't require much sleep because he was such a great dreamer, and dreaming is twice as restful as merely sleeping. So Coyote rested fast, and then was awake the remainder of the night, which gave him altogether too much time to think of ways to manifest his love for mischief. One summer night, as usual, Coyote was wandering the prairie with nothing to do and no one to play with. When he passed by Cricket's nest, her almost inaudible breathing froze him in his tracks. Scarcely moving, he looked out of the corner of his eye toward the peaceful sound. A smile started in his eyes and slowly took over his whole face. He crept close. Then he nudged her bed roughly with his nose and woke her up. "What?" murmured Cricket, woozy and confused. She blinked groggily. The shadow of sleep began to brighten. She noticed Coyote. "Why'd you wake me up, dog?" Coyote laughed roguishly and took to his heels. The bewildered little Cricket looked after him for a few seconds, blinked several times, and tilted her head questioningly. She laid her head back down and went back to sleep. Once Coyote was out of Cricket's sight, he slowed to a pensive trot and gradually came to a stop. Standing alone under the vast starry sky, he looked longingly back. Although he had enjoyed the silly, dazed look on Cricket's face, he hadn't gotten the reaction he'd hoped for. He was looking for more attention than that, a little company. He was disappointed that Cricket simply went back to sleep. Maybe tomorrow night. He was let down again. Cricket didn't lose her temper, nor did she say anything. She didn't understand why Coyote was waking her up, but she guessed that she would only lose more sleep by confronting him. Hard-headed. That's what Coyote was. Granite-headed. Determined to get what he wanted, he continued to wake up the unfortunate Cricket for the next 7 nights in a row. Well, the imprudent pup was about to get the attention he was looking for. As Cricket lost sleep, she got progressively more tired and cranky. After being awakened for the 8th straight night, she didn't even try to go back to sleep. She stayed awake and plotted. The next night, Coyote arrived as usual. He nervously looked all around, but Cricket wasn't there. At last, Cricket was going to try to get even. Excitement surged through him. He was finally going to have some fun. He crouched in the nearby grass, snickering to himself in anticipation. He got comfortable and then he waited and waited and waited. Eventually, he fell asleep. This was just what Cricket had been waiting for. She crept over to him very quietly. Holding her breath so she wouldn't wake him, she sneaked into his ear and searched until she found a rainbow-colored box. Satisfied that she had found what she was looking for, she carefully disconnected his dream gearbox and then stole away as artfully as she had come. Coyote woke with a start. He furrowed his brow and suspiciously looked around. He stood up, stretched his stiff hind legs, and sniffed the night air. Feeling very tired, he rubbed his nose and eyes, shook the sleep out of his head, and decided to give up and go home. Once in his den, he slept soundly all night, but he woke up unrefreshed. For the next 3 nights, Coyote slept deeply, but each successive morning he woke up more exhausted. Increasingly nervous and restless, he completely lost interest in tormenting Cricket. Cricket's plan had worked. Coyote had stopped waking her up. But now she had a new problem. She had one too many dream gearboxes. Her sleep was so full of dreams that she was sleeping worse than when Coyote was waking her up every night. And what dreams! All night, chasing rabbits, lizards, and worst of all, crickets. She had to undo her deed, and it was not going to be easy. Coyote wasn't the sound sleeper he had been when she pilfered his dreams. His dreamless and restless sleep would make it harder to return the gearbox than it had been to steal it. To compound the problem, if she wasn't very deliberate and careful, she might accidentally leave Coyote the wrong dream box. That would be awful. She had to wait for a windy night, but not too windy. Moonlit, but not too moonlit. A little noise to muffle hers, but not too much or Coyote would never sleep. Bright enough for her to see which dream gearbox was which, but dark enough to conceal her misdeed. She anxiously but patiently waited. The perfect night came. At his den she found him already asleep. Smuggling breathlessly into his ear, she studied both dream gearboxes to make sure she was leaving the right one. She carefully hooked it up exactly as she had found it and quickly sneaked back out. Greatly relieved, she went home and fell into the best, deepest sleep she'd had for many, many weeks. Meanwhile, Coyote dreamed wildly and vividly. He woke up refreshed and feeling wonderful. His old game with Cricket sounded like fun again. He could scarcely wait for the sun to set. That night, when he went to wake her up, she was already awake and chirping noisily. Hearing his paw crush the dry grass as he approached, she abruptly stopped chirping. Turning her head, she distrustfully directed her gaze straight into his. A very long, silent moment passed. "Hear my song, Coyote? As long as you hear it, you will know where I am and what I'm doing. But when I stop, beware." She paused, then smiled coyly and said, "Have any good dreams lately?" The realization of everything that had happened washed over him. Coyote warily took one step back, continuing defiantly to keep his eyes locked with hers. A slow smile revealed his canines. "I will never disturb your sleep again." Their eyes, still in a death grip, Cricket smiled back. Both animals knew that Coyote probably would not keep his promise. That's why Cricket chirps, to remind him of what will happen if he doesn't.